welcome to episode 40 of Winging It, the transfer special. I think this is the second transfer special we've done. Got Sam Hesketh with me, but shock, Albert's away on, can we call it a holiday, Hesketh?
I'm not calling it a holiday.
Are we scared?
I'm calling it a disgrace.
But as always, the able deputy is in place and utterly timely given the transfer window is drawing to a close. We're joined by Carl Davies.
Hi, everybody. I'd just like to say I am doing this from my holiday.
Yeah, but, you know, you've taken your mic with you and ready to get off. Right, beer. Carl, come on. I know you always get one.
Yeah, so I'm up near Edinburgh. So I've gone for a local brewery. So I've gone for a sour, Vault City, and I've got a raspberry and coconut sour.
Wow, that
sounds opened it beforehand.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I've gone for, it's a double IPA, so it is 8%. It's called Big Keith because I reckon that sounds like someone who would do some wheeling and dealing in a transfer window.
Terrific.
And it's by terrific. It's by the Two Flints Brewery as well. So shout out to Keith Flint, rest in peace. Citra Strata and Simcoe. If you haven't guessed by now, after 40 episodes of this podcast, Simcoe is my go-to, I think. Right.
I was at Wembley on Sunday, Wembley Stadium, to watch the wrestling because I'm a massive grown-up.
I thought you were going to say Taylor Swift.
No, I'm too much of a grown-up. Professional wrestling. I should have taken a photo. They had a sort of, you know, the normal beer bit, and then they had a thing that said craft beer, and it was literally like Camden IPA. And that's their craft beer. I didn't get any. You'll be happy to hear.
Yeah, the Camden Pal's all right. It's become very mainstream, and it can be very expensive in places.
I definitely don't think it was worthy of its own little craft beer hut.
That's probably true. Big Keith would be worth it. It is very boozy, though. And from one drink to another, Oasis. Oh, no, sorry, that's a band. That's not a drink. We happy, Hesketh? I know you're a Blur Ultra, so what are you doing? You're going to go there and sit in the away end and kick off?
Yeah, see you outside and then run away from like 50,000 piss Northerners.
Yeah, what do you reckon, Carl? You give it a crack, or did you see him back in the day?
Yeah, I did see him back in the day, but I'm with Hesketh. I'm Blur loyal. So yeah, I definitely won't be going. I did see them about a month after Definitely Maybe came out, just because I was dragged along with a mate and they were brilliant. And then I went back to Wembley Stadium went to Wembley and watched them. But I was there to watch the support bands. You had Reverend the Makers and stuff like that. So yeah, I like the support bands for this. If I could just go watch the support bands and get up to about Fontaine's DC, walk out and then give somebody the Oasis tickets, I'll be comfortable.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout, actually. Yeah, they always do get great support, don't they? Thinking about making a weekend in Edinburgh for it because it's across my birthday, so depends what time the football season starts next year. No, it's 9th of August weekend. We'll have to wait and see what's going on. This story is amazing. Burnley's academy manager, director. Have you seen this? He has been unceremoniously sacked from his job as Burnley academy director, Hesketh.
Right.
He's resigned for sending a scathing report of their first team players into the wrong WhatsApp group. Dave Longwell called some players lazy, a big waste of money, rubbish, and a disaster. He accidentally sent it to the under-21 players, which led to the first team finding out.
Ouch.
Like I say, how bad do you have to be to get sacked by Burnley in light of Craig Bellamy managed to survive 2 years there?
I mean, we've all done it. We've all sent messages to the wrong people before, but that's a boo-boo, isn't it?
I quite like that one of the scathing messages was him saying they were rubbish.
Rubbish.
Absolutely rubbish.
Well, it did chuckle me, but we're going to move on. So one team in claret and blue to another. Let's get into West Ham. So it's hot off the heels of losing to Brentford. Ideally, you don't want to start with 2 defeats, but that's how it materialised. But we'll start with you, Carl. Great start to the match, pretty much like Brentford.
Yeah, I mean, they got hold of the ball for about the first 2 minutes, and I thought, and then literally just every minute went on in that first half. We just got better and better and better and better. And yeah, I think if it had been towards the back end of last season, we would have been 15 minutes into the game going, don't worry, we're going to roll this lot over 4-5-6-0 because the goals have come. And yeah, didn't need half time, did we? But again, that classic thing of goals change games, and we had plenty of chances in the first half, and clearly up until obviously Norwich game, Ebbs has had absolutely no luck at all.
Yeah, we'll get into a bit of that later, but he hits the bar, sees a great one-on-one save by Areola. Great save, I thought that was, with his feet, did really well. And Hesketh, the Edouard miss, I think that could be the final nail in the Frenchie's coffin. He's gone.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about him quite a lot in the pod, where I don't dislike him as much as some people do. But when you see him miss chances like that, especially if it sounds weird to say it this time last year, but if you give that chance to Mateta, he's bashing that bottom corner easy. So I think that's the thing with Edouard. He's got to take his chances when he gets them, and missing those at 0-0 would have completely changed the game. So not great.
Yeah, and I didn't end up watching the highlights back until just before the Norwich game, actually, and it was the near post was completely open. The shot across the goalkeeper just made no sense whatsoever. He just has to aim at the post, and it will naturally curl in at the near post. And yeah, it was a poor miss, and obviously ended up costing us in the game, which probably hinged on the substitution, Carl, of replacing Lerma with Kamada.
Yeah, I mean, we swapped messages about it and literally said the same thing as the messages were going backwards and forwards straight after the game. It was, we had hold of that midfield. We took hold of that midfield through the whole of the first half. It wasn't just what Lerma was doing in itself. It was what Lerma was allowing Adam Walton to go do. And yeah, he's a gambler, the manager. And again, I love him for it. But that's probably the second substitution or second game in the trot where he's made a substitution, at Brentford, coming on and then going straight up top. And which broke us up in play. And yeah, our midfield was dominated from the moment Kamada came on. He's many things, but he definitely isn't got the bite that Lerma's got and the presence that Lerma's got.
And one of the players in the West Ham midfield that kind of took the game by the scruff of its neck there was Thomas Souček. Now, we should fucking sign him. How prolific he is at Selhurst. Yeah. That's 4 goals and 2 assists in his last 4 visits to Selhurst. And in two of those games, he's been the worst player I've ever seen.
Yeah, we because obviously we met up before the game, you and me, Terry, for a quick drink. And 2 things you said. The first one was seeing Brighton score a last-minute winner. You said, that was the entree, this is the main course. And then you also mentioned about Souček, and when he scored, I was like, well, I'm not even going to look over to Block B because I know that you knew it was coming.
Yeah, the only stupid thing is I didn't back it financially or in my fantasy team, so it was just pointless being right. But of course he scores, and then along with Bowen pretty much becomes the hero of the day when the celebrations go off in front of the West Ham end and the ball boy nearly gets crushed by the advertising hoarding. What are your thoughts on this, Carl? Is it like, I mean, my view of it, which I tweeted and ended up getting 1.8 million views. So I don't know what happened there. But yeah, it was just like, they're just celebrating.
Yeah,
I can't see how people can blame the West Ham fans. They don't know he's there. They've just scored a late goal away from home to go 1-0 up. And they've got to be excited. They're falling forward, and they don't expect it to collapse, and especially not on a child, like I say, who didn't know was there. So I just feel like it's just an unfortunate series of events.
I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. Look, what we're going to start saying then, what you do? I mean, look, firstly, there's something on Palace there. It shouldn't be able to collapse. And, you know, it wasn't that long ago you'd have fans right in that front row. The fact they've gone over a little bit of a netting and a bit of segregation, it's just in celebration. I mean, look, if that had been us scoring a late goal or a winner, or after you've been on a bad run or whatever it may well be, it can easily happen. It's not like they're trying to get on to invade the pitch. They're going down to celebrate with players coming over.
Yeah, I did have a little conversation with a Palace fan who was saying, you know, I was sat near them and the stewards were repeatedly telling them to move out the aisles and they weren't listening. And yeah, I get that. I mean, for me, that's not a West Ham problem. That's a up and down the country problem in every away end, including Palace fans. And devil's advocate as well. If I got to my seat at the back of the half away, I'd be like, exactly. I'm fucking watching the game from here.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I feel like safe standing takes care of a load of this as well, because then people can easier squeeze into rows and there's more space. You're not scratching your legs all up on seats and all of that, blah, blah. So, yeah, there's got to be ways.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. 100% agree with you on safe standing. I have a perspective that we haven't gone down the safe standing route. Less about, because if you do it for the home fans, you have to do it for the away end. I think it might be less about, definitely not about money, and less about the moving of people in the home end. I think it's more the point. Palace won't be able to sell the seats at the back of or the standing position at the back of the Arthur, because it really does become, if you stand up in those back two rows, you can't actually see the pitch at all.
Yeah, but everyone's stood anyway. No one's sitting down there.
Exactly. It's a Palace. No, it's a problem, but at least they can go sell the tickets. But it's at the moment arguing that you should be sat down. But yeah, look, I agree with you. It's a real unfortunate incident. Thankfully, nobody's got badly injured out of it all. But yeah, I mean, it's just hijinks, isn't it?
Yeah, nice touch as well from Bowen giving the kid his shirt after the game as well, which I mean, probably pointless for a Palace ball boy, but probably fetch a few quid on eBay or something.
Yeah, stick it on eBay, yeah.
Yeah. Clapping old players has come back to haunt us again. Hesketh, I know you particularly love this. Aaron Wan-Bissaka gets a rounding reception and pays us back by running over our new signing on the counter to set up a goal.
Yeah, my Vanessa couldn't come to the game for West Ham, so my mate Dan Cooper was there. He only ever seemed to come for West Ham, so real questions need to be asked.
Well, he does live in Leighton. I feel like he's been infiltrated.
And he was stood in the row in front of me, and he clapped Wan-Bissaka when he came on. And then after Wan-Bissaka had turned into prime, Cafu or whatever, and dribbled around half our team, and they scored, I just leaned forward to him and I was like, "Don't think for a second I didn't see what you did."
It's the first thing I thought when everyone started clapping. I was like, Hesketh's going to be foaming at the mouth.
Like whenever we sold Joa, and I was like, he's scoring against us from a corner, and then we sold Ayew. I mean, luckily he scored yesterday. But I was like, he's going to get his first Leicester goal against us. Just don't do it, guys. Just wait until after we've beat him and then do it. Or like when we played Wilf when he was at Cardiff, he had a stinker, and then he got subbed off, and then you clap him.
That's not what happened.
No, that's not what happened. Yeah.
We were clapping him very much while he was playing. One of the greatest moments ever. Ayatollah
Zaha. We're just thinking he wants to come home.
Brilliant. That is one of my favourite away days. What day that was. Just, really, really just loads of fun and some brilliant goals as well to win that game. It was so good.
Linking it back to Burnley story right up the top. Was that us with Dougie Freeman texting Ian Moody?
Yeah, that's right.
Moody? To get the team news. Wonder where those two are now.
Yeah, wasn't it? No, so wasn't it that Dougie heard that Ian Moody was trying to get the team and he's mates with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So Dougie grassed us up and messaged Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to say...
That was it, yeah.
Palace know your team. That was before Friedman, redeemed himself.
Yeah.
It was that little period we won't talk about anymore.
Yeah.
Right, but big again, pretty much like after the Brentford game, big meltdown on social media, as there always is after a defeat. But for me, on another day, we beat them 5-2 like we did the season before. And I think the main difference prior to Norwich between this season and the back end of last season is the balls just stopped going in the net every time we hit it. Eze's hit the crossbar with a beautiful effort. Goalie's pulled off a brilliant save. Edouard's missed a sitter. And then after that, you've had Mateta's a toe width away from poking home an equaliser at 1-0. Sarr hits the post. They're just not going in where they were last season every time you hit it with, Mateta's conversion rate was laughable at the back end of last season. So are you stressed, Carl, or are you just like, it will turn around?
No, look, definitely not stressed. I mean, a little bit gutted. It's if we'd had 4 points coming out these 2 games, you'd feel a little aggrieved. We've dropped 2, and it's not like there's any worry about relegation at any one present moment in time. I may regret that if we get thumped by Chelsea, but it's more the point. I would love to have seen the optimism of the fan base still continuing from the back end of last season. And genuinely, if we had 4 to 6 points on the table, we'd be sat there at the moment thinking about saving our holiday for next year for Thursday nights in some random city in Europe, wouldn't we? And already it feels like that dream's been snatched away.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at glass half empty, we're already 4 points down on last season, because we beat West Ham at home and lost to Brentford. But we threw away a lot of shitty points last season as well, when went through very long periods without getting any results. So any sort of consistency over the whole season, I think will see us in the mix for sure.
Yeah, totally.
So, I don't know. I'm sure Hesketh was delighted that we lost. His miserable self just reveling in the anger that was spread around. Never. But it is what it is. It's at least early in the season we can get on with it, and we've gone into the Norwich game. First up, fair play to Norwich, bought a fuck ton of fans.
Yeah.
Sold out the away end, which get a few teams in the Premier League who don't do that these days.
Yeah.
So fair play to them, but I think Hesketh, that made the early goal extra important because you could hear they were up for it, and Kamada silenced them basically inside 2 minutes.
Yeah, and that's another thing that we were doing under Glasner at the end of last year, was going ahead in games. We started on the front foot loads, got the first goal, and then sort of just took control. And I think in the 2 league games, we started well, but haven't got that goal, not including Ebb's free kick against Brentford, unfortunately. But yeah, yesterday, nice, sort of make it look easy, but just a nice quick move. Kamada's first touch to kill the ball around the goalie was unbelievable. And that really, I thought we would go and, we did go and pump him in the end, but I thought we'd just sort of settle back into the sort of form that we had last season. But they had their moments, Norwich. I think Henderson made a good double save first half as well as the second half, and they're 25, I think it was. Their winger looked pretty good. So, I think Norwich were all right in the first half, but thankfully, as soon as JP got that overhead goal, and I'll ask the two of you whether that's a goal from a corner or not, we looked a lot more like it.
Yeah, you've run away into the second half, bud.
Pull it back.
It was great. Yeah, the goal was great in the sense of that it just relaxed us, got us that goal, gets Kamada off the mark, and we didn't hear from the Norwich fans again until half an hour in, which you could tell at the start they were really up for it. So it was nice to kill them off. And by the end of the game, I thought their fans were brilliant. They were done themselves proud, really. But obviously, Carl Riyad goes off injured inside 10 minutes. And it looked bad, to be honest. I don't know. I haven't seen the challenge back, but I don't know if VAR was in play. The guy absolutely flies through the back of him and doesn't. It's pretty reckless. But what did it look like on the TV?
Yeah, it looked far. I think the actual injury is a twist on his knee.
Okay.
I did replay back. Weird sensation watching it on telly and not there in the stadium. But that is one of the little benefits when you go. We actually went really quiet after that for a period of time. I actually went back and had a little look at it, and it seems to twist his knee. It's not the impact of the foul or the guy going into him. It's the twist on the knee, which I guess might be a little bit more of the worry. But by all accounts, he walked out. He walked out the stadium last night, so it's X-ray. It was X-ray today, but yeah, he's hoping it's absolutely nothing serious. But yeah, it probably got half of Twitter going, and now we need another centre back. we got to sign 7 centre backs.
Yeah, Ron, what did you make of his debut against West Ham?
Yeah, poor. I thought poor. I mean, he didn't. Yeah, having seen him, both live and on TV through pre-season, he looked calm and composed. He looked strong. He looks a beast as a player. Definitely had a first touch, and you're thinking, yeah, here you go. I can absolutely see why we've gone for him. Pick the pace of the game up and a little bit more pressure on him, and it started off with his passing being pretty darn poor, especially through the first half against West Ham. But he got easily pulled out of position. I think you can probably pin both goals against him in one way or another at the West Ham goals. But it wasn't just that. Mark covered him 2 or 3 times before they'd scored their first, where he just got pulled far too left and ended up leaving a massive gap between Guehi and Riyadh, whilst Mitchell had pulled up, and you got just comfortable, leave the space and stay compact. But he's a young'un, isn't he? And I guess the bit is he's in an ideal world. He isn't thrown in at the team at the present moment in time, and they're working with him on all of that stuff. I mean, I don't know what shape he played up at for Betis, if they were in a 3 or in a 2, but yeah, I back the process of why he's been brought in. But yeah, he looked rusty.
Yeah, and a good comparison, isn't it? It came out in the Wharton interview with Mark Bright a few weeks back. Wharton got robbed of the ball at Brighton within a few minutes of his debut, and they scored from it, got punished. So, and he talked about it took a couple of games to get up to the pace of the Premier League and realise where you need to be at to play at that level. So I'm sure it's the same there. There's definitely a player in there. And what I did like about it is he didn't shy away after any of those mistakes or anything. He just carried on playing his game, trying to play his game, running the ball out. Won a few big headers as well throughout the game, actually, which not many of our players really did in that match. Yeah. So, unless you're Lerma who got subbed, but that aside, he's, I think there's a player in there for sure, and he just needs to be eased in. Okay. Dean Henderson. Now, multiple times I've been messaged this week. I think you might have been one of them, Carl, in a group. Everyone's suggesting after West Ham, we've backed the wrong keeper, we've backed the wrong keeper, we've backed the wrong keeper. I think people might be seeing it a little bit differently after his performance in this one. What did you make of that double save in the second half? The save in the first half is good enough. That double save in the second half, followed by the celebration, which is what I love about him, which is why I know we've backed the right keeper. I just love it. What's a double save?
Yeah, I think I probably agree with you. I think the first save of the double, I think, is excellent. I think the fact he's back up so quickly is great. I think the shot with the foot, the save with the foot is excellent. His position is good, and the movement, and it's gone really quickly. No criticism about the second save, quite clearly, but it's a pretty darn lousy finish. But it's I mean, let's be brutally honest. If you're a Palace, if it had been the other way around, and whoever that's fallen to, and I'm just going to call him Edouard, you're going, why the X he put that straight down the centre? But he's got back up, and I do like the celebration. I think I back Palace in what they've done in Sam going or Sam about to go, and they've gone with Henderson. I know why they brought Henderson in, and because they wanted a first choice keeper, and they weren't definitely sure they were going to keep Sam at that stage because he was signalling he wanted to go back up north. So look, they've got their long-term replacement. I guess the bit where I worry about Henderson is actually more about him with his feet. And I know I don't mean saving with his feet, absolutely nothing wrong with that, but actually his distribution. And again, maybe some way later down the line, if we've got Ollie in a couple of years, that'd be something he'll want to correct in who the keeper is. But I've not yet seen anything from me that gives me any sense that he's great with the ball at his feet. Not that I think Johnstone was well class at it, but I thought he was better.
Yeah, I think I have seen it's clearly been worked on over the summer with him though as well, because you can see he's a lot more deliberate with the ball at his feet now. Particularly, was it the West Ham game where he kicked the ball into the goal?
Yeah,
I think it was in the 5-2. So definitely, when the ball's coming back to him now, it's definitely. I feel like it's been worked on, and I was a goalkeeper who was not very good with my feet. Like I was playing goal in the late 90s, early 2000s. You didn't particularly need to be good with your feet back then, but I remember how hard it was, and I just levered the ball clear. I wasn't an outfield player, and I still just maintain goalkeeper first. Anything you can do with your feet is a bonus, and he can pass the ball 25, 30 yards still across the floor, which is, I think, probably just about enough. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it looks in 18 months' time. But I think he's a really good goalkeeper, and he wears his heart on his sleeve and loves it, and just loves playing football. So I'm behind him. Then we get, is it a goal or is it not a goal from a corner? Now, what I loved about this was that we get the corner and the crowd just spontaneously started singing Mateta's name. Just spontaneously. But he wasn't involved in the move. Like, the corner was won. They just spontaneously start singing his name. And it's a short corner, goes out, gets played in. Now, I think stats-wise, it's a goal from a corner. Hesketh, I'm pretty sure it's going to be given as a goal from a corner, but I'm not counting it until we cross the ball and someone fucking heads it home from the corner.
Straight from the corner kick, yeah.
I will also accept someone nodding it down for someone to finish it in the penalty area from a corner. That's scoring from a corner, but Hesketh, he showed really great, creativity and awareness to whip it over his head. Sorry, whoever does Palace admin. It was not a bicycle kick. That is the definition of an overhead kick, not a bicycle kick. Second acrobatic finish of the week from the Palace harem of players.
Yeah, it was a great finish where we were stood where Vanessa season ticket is. So basically in the corner, the ball went in. As soon as he hit it, it was in. You could see as soon as he hit it, it was a great finish, and didn't do the corner flag kick, which is something we might touch on because I've seen a news report about that today. But from that moment on, I don't think he was having a terrible game, but from the moment that goal went in, he looked like the Mateta of the end of last season in terms of his character, geeing everyone up, like dicking about with the goalie, that sort of thing. And I just think he's obviously had a bit of a stop-start summer with France and then with us and then going back to France and going back to us. But if he's now getting back into the swing of what he was doing at the end of last year, albeit with 2 goals against a team from the league below, then great. And like you say, the spontaneous singing of his name for no real reason other than he was stood in the middle of the box as we were about to take the corner seemed to work its magic, and I'm really glad that it did.
Yes, it's a great finish, and as I say, it's an overhead kick.
Yeah,
they correctly described Jesse Derry's volley as a scissor volley, which was, he scored again today, hasn't he? So he's off to a flyer at the start of this season. Really excited about. Well, we've got to keep him first, haven't we, Carl? Is there what's the deal with Jesse Derry?
I think they've got a year. We've got a year whereby, the hope is quite clearly that there will be an offer on the table that absolutely ensures he stays. We've definitely got him for this season, but after that, he's there to be poached, and there's more than one club definitely Chelsea for certain, who really, really keen on him. So, yeah, I've not heard anything since the back end of last season, but back end of last season he was definitely getting tapped up. That's for certain.
Well, I mean, don't touch Chelsea with a barge pole. Don't go there. We've said it enough.
Yeah.
Well, hasn't Ben Watson's kid just
Watson's
gone to
lad.
Chelsea, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I think he just scored for him as well. So I've seen
For
there's nothing
Chelsea?
about- Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Reggie,
correct.
isn't his name, I think.
God, it's mad, isn't it? Sean Derry's kid, Ben Watson's kid, Neil Dan's kid. What's going on? We're getting old.
I hate it.
Oh, dear. I've got Ian Wright's grandchild somewhere out there.
And then, Mateta grabs a second as well. Brilliant finish. Just lovely from Eze as well. We talked about this when Glasner first came in, about the overloads in the penalty area and being able to pick people out who are unmarked. That was the plan of it. And I don't think there's any better example of it being executed to a T there, where Eze didn't even look up. He knew where Mateta had gone. Like it was, like telepathic almost. And it's a brilliant finish. I don't what. The only question on TV was he looked like Carl, but I haven't seen it back. Should the goalie do better?
No, well, I haven't seen it properly back, as in the rewind. It was the same angle that you could see it back on. It absolutely looks like it hit Sarr and he's offside.
Oh, no, the Mateta one, not the Eze one. The Mateta one.
No, sorry. Yeah, Mateta can't be saved. It can't be. It's just too much power. Far too much power. They did show that several times. It made me laugh, whereby they've actually asked the question, should the keeper do better? It's absolutely gone like a bullet. He's absolutely hammered it.
I'll tell you what the keeper couldn't possibly do any better is that shirt he was wearing was a fucking beauty. What a shirt!
Right, I was talking goalkeeper. I'm back into a little bit of football kit business at the present moment in time, and trying to do. I don't know. And in my head, it's a David Seaman inspired sort of early 90s goalkeeper top, and that was the modern version of it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's very like it was funny because it reminded me of the Denmark Peter Schmeichel kit from back in the day.
Yeah.
And the goalkeeper actually kind of looked like Kasper Schmeichel actually, wearing with that shirt on. I was like, that's a beauty, and just with the all black shorts and socks, it looked great. Yeah. Really, really nice kit.
Pop in the colour.
Yeah, that dive, full stretch dive when he couldn't get to Mateta's goal. Yeah. There's a picture somewhere that's going to show that kit in its full glory. Yeah, lovely. And then we get to Eze's goal, which is surely going to be chalked off of him at some point because, as you already said, Carl, it clearly takes a deflection off Sarr, who pretends it hasn't because he thinks he's offside, but was probably onside. I've only seen an angle from which couldn't really tell you, but looked like he might have been straddling the line. But for me, it's the pass from Walton into Eze Hesketh that is just there's three Norwich players between him and Eze, and it's like the ball does step overs to get past them. It's just unbelievable, isn't
it? Yeah, like I think we say it every week now, but he makes it look effortless as well. You know, he's dissected, like you say, 3 or 4 of their players with one pass that just looks to him like he might as well have passed it a couple of yards next door. You know, it doesn't look like he's even trying. And to get him on the wavelength with, like you say, someone like Eze who can then just rinse about 4 people himself. Oh, it's great. It's great to watch. I can't wait to see more of it.
Yeah. And Eze's obviously shots deflected off Sarr, which now means Eze's start to the season is 2 disallowed goals, the free kick at Brentford and the one in the first half against Norwich. 1 disallowed assist when Edouard run too early at Brentford. He's at the woodwork against West Ham, and now a goal is deflected off a teammate and is going to be taken away from him. I mean, I'm glad he's not in my fantasy team because the amount of points that have been absolutely robbed off of him is just outrageous. But it's only a matter of time before the goal will start flying in for him, I'm sure.
Hat-trick on Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, take it. Take it. And we'll be going into Chelsea obviously, outstanding result of the week from Chelsea at Wolves to go there and win 6-2, where Wolves at home particularly notoriously do really well against the big teams at home. So for Chelsea to go and stick 6 past them, I mean, fuck being a Wolves fan on that day when a player's slagged off your tan and told everyone how shit it is and he rocks up and scores a hat-trick. I mean, jeez, I'd feel depressed. But for the record, and in Madueke's defence, Wolverhampton is a shithole.
Yeah,
as Carl,
I'd feel depressed.
as Carl will be able to tell us based on a hotel stay there last season.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's the only hotel where when I've left, I've wiped my feet on the way out.
Very good, very good. Right. So we've got the draw for the League Cup. We're recording now and it's 9:45. So the draw is probably going to be done in the next half an hour. So we might catch it by the end of the podcast and have it live, but we'll see how it goes. So now we're going to get into transfer window, drawing to a close. First up, we're going to talk contracts. So Carl, from Doug Willing, we've had, what's the likelihood of Guehi signing a new deal to safeguard a respectable transfer fee?
It's a hard one for me to talk about this one because I work with his agent. So I hear his side of the story, and obviously you hear Palace's side of the story. It's a different scenario to Michael Elise, because the conversation Palace had with Michael Elise is there is no better place for you to play than here. We'll give you the money that you would get if you were moving to X club, Chelsea, but play here, higher release clause, you'll get your move. I.e., Michael still needed to prove himself to get that big move. Well, Mark's proved himself. At the moment, it's just purely what Palace are asking for. Look, Palace would love Mark to sign a new deal. And you know what? Maybe they do. Maybe he does. But don't expect a massive release clause because the end game doesn't change. At some stage, Mark wants to move. If you was his agent, you would be saying to him, don't sign a new deal. You know you want to move. Any extra salary you're going to get in the next 12 months for signing for Palace, you're the signing on fee that you'll get from any club will far outweigh all of that. So look, I think Palace might get one in there. They absolutely might, but I don't think it's ultimately going to change too much. If he doesn't go this summer, he'll go next summer.
Yeah, but as I say, if it's like we get to sign a new deal with a release clause that isn't the 75 million we're asking for, the 70 million. If we, let's just say 65 mil, the release clause is 60, or even if it's 65 mil to teams outside the top 6, 60 mil to teams inside the top 6, that kind of thing. I don't know if deals are ever structured like that, but is that something that anyone would ever think about?
Look, that's where Palace. I mean, look, Palace have got a good relationship with his agent. It's it's Will Salthouse, it's Unique Sports Management, so they've got a really good relationship with them. Palace. I mean, there's no way they can have the conversation with him at the present moment in time whilst the window's open. But they did try to have those conversations with him. Pretty much for the back half of the whole of the second half of last season, and they were just in an absolute position of no. Mark's not looking to sign a new deal. In an ideal world, Mark goes in the summer. And, Ollie knew Mark was going to go in the summer, and he'd even told the Palace players Mark was going in the summer. So to be here where we are, absolutely everybody's surprised. But, fair credit to Mark Guehi. He was absolutely exceptional against West Ham and, put on the armbands against Norwich when a whole load of other players would have definitely asked to sit out if they thought there was any chance of a move. So I think he's genuinely happy to be at Palace and really genuinely happy to be here all of next season. If Palace convince him to sign a new deal with a release clause, that's those conversations are definitely nowhere close. That's for certain.
Yeah, since he's moved into the middle, because obviously he's effectively playing out a position on the left side as centre-back. He is a right-footed player.
Yeah.
He's just done it so long now that, he's versatile enough to be able to do it. Did it for England in the Euros as well, which just shows how good you are as a player to, go to one of the biggest tournaments there is in world football and, just seamlessly do it. But in the middle, replacing Anderson in the middle, think he's gone up another level in there. Looks fantastic.
Totally agree. And look, from what I understand, and this has all come from agent side, there's no shortage of interest in Mark. There's just a shortage of interest in clubs being able to afford him in this summer. But that I think some really, really big clubs out there, I think, have all said to Mark, "Hey, if you don't go this summer, we'll definitely be in for you next summer." So it's
and I think that's right. And naturally, if he doesn't sign a new contract, then his value goes down in what we can ask for, because he's only got a year left and then could leave on a free. And as I think we talked about in a pod a couple of weeks ago, if he ends up going next season for 55 million or whatever, around that ballpark, we haven't lost 15 million on a fee because we've kept him for an extra season in that sense. So it's like we've had a 70 million pound player, whatever, for a year. So it's I say it's easy to say it now, but that's the way going to have to kind of look at it if he doesn't sign a contract and we do end up only getting 50 million for him.
Yeah, look, I think that's exactly. Look, I think and Palace are honestly comfortable with all of that. They're absolutely. They still know he's a year out from a World Cup next summer, so he won't want to be at Palace, and Palace saying to him, "Hey, look, unless you move, we're going to stick you in the reserves." He knows there's a World Cup in 26, so he knows that. Not that Mark's ever acted in that way in itself, but he knows clubs are going to come in. The clubs are coming from next summer, but you're still talking of a figure that's going to begin with a 4 or a 5, which is still a significant profit on what we paid for him.
Yeah, exactly right. Another contract talks that are in and around. We'll start with the question of Chris Windsor's asked, what is our favourite rumour of this transfer window and why? And I mean, it has to be Mateta stopping doing his boom celebration as a contract protest. Now, Hesketh, can this be true?
Obviously, I hope not, because it's silly. But part of me quite wishes it was, because it's silly. I remember him saying, "Tell the fans to say boom" when I kicked the corner flag a couple of years ago. And the joke was, well, you haven't kicked the corner flag for 8 months, mate. So, and now that he is scoring loads, he's like, you know what? I'm not going to give it to you. Give me what I want, otherwise you don't get a corner flag. Boom.
Yeah, I mean, so the suggestion is, Carl, he wants Champions League football. Who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot in football of having to strike while the iron's hot, right? He's the informed striker, one of the informed strikers in world football. There's no doubt about it, with the amount of goals he's scoring. So he's got to do what's right for him and try and get that contract. But is Champions League football just a ruse, or is he happy to sign a deal if the right deal comes on the table from Palace?
I think he's got a deal on the table at the present moment in time from a club who's got Champions League football, and it's going to pay him more money than he probably ever thought he was going to earn. And that's definitely not a rumour. So, he's got that in the background at the present moment in time, and Palace have just told him tough. So he's probably got the hump with us. There's no doubt about that. But he definitely had his mojo back against Norwich, and I guess he's gradually getting his head around that we're not going to sell him. He's not for sale. Again, I think probably the board have had or the owners, not the board. The owners have had a fair bit of criticism of suddenly we're selling everybody who wants to go. Trust me, there's a fair few, and all of this stuff want to, after what happened at the back end of last season, of their stock's very high, and to your point, they want to cash in on it and make the next big step. And Palace have told a fair few of them, not a chance, you're staying. I don't think I reckon he's not kicking corner flag because he knows he's going to get 25 goals this season and do his hamstring if he kicks every corner flag every time he scores. But I have a suspicion some stage in the next 6 months he'll end up signing a new improved deal and there'll be an extra year on the contract. I don't think Palace will be inserting release clauses in there, but he'll get the big pay rise.
Yeah, fair enough. Hopefully that does happen because he deserves it, and hopefully the goals he continues to score enough for us. Right, transfers out. So we talked about Anderson last week. Hadn't quite been done, but happened shortly after the pod was released. Jordan Ayew's gone. as you already said, Hesketh, he scored his first goal for Leicester, got it out, and what a goal it was! Jesus,
Great goal.
What just unbelievable strike. And he also got an assist in that game as well. And I think Anderson got an assist for Fulham as well in the game last night as well. So starting their lives off well. And then the only other one, Sam Johnston to Wolverhampton Wanderers for 10 million. Happy with that, Carl? I mean, I think on the balance sheet, that's pure profit, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it's good from a PSR. Am I happy with it? No. And I've liked the fact that we've got two really strong keepers. Both have had their fair amount of injuries. I think I'd said on the pod previously, several times last year, Sam's never played a whole season without an injury. So having Henderson come in gave me some confidence because, a goalkeeper is such a pivotal position, for confidence for the whole defence. So having two strong keepers was brilliant. But look, fair play to him. He's 31, 32. Wants to play, been around the England squad, wants to play football. Fair play to him for going. And yeah, it's a 10 mil profit, which 10 million helps, and the PSR 10 million helps.
And Travers, is it Travers from Bournemouth? Is the one who's been linked in? Is that any truth in that?
That's definitely true, but complex because they might have Neto going out to Forest, I think it is. So I don't know if that's in the public domain, but I think that's. But Palace have got two other options, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the Sam one just held up a bit whilst they nail down the other one. So the other two options, I think one's in Spain, one's in France, but. Yeah, I think Travers is probably first choice because of where he is and he's comfortable to be a backup.
Okay. Right, so Jack has asked, how many do you see coming in? And Daniel has asked, how many players does the pod think we are light? Daniel would rather have sold Mark and kept Anderson and used the extra money to fill the holes in the squad. So how many are coming in do you think we're light?
Let's reverse it back. Let me ask the second one first. I think we need left wing back cover. I don't think I'd be the only person thinking that. We went into this summer looking to get a left wing back, and it feels like it'd be a level of a failure to come out of the window without one. And I don't reckon we're getting one. So look, that feels like. We're going to be light in that position. And if T gets an injury, you haven't even got some of the logical people to now go fill it. It feels like it'd probably be Kleiny, but it could be Schlupp. But either way, they're both suboptimal in the way we go play. They really are suboptimal in the way we go play now. So we're light there. And quite clearly, Anderson needs replacing. So working on the principle that happens. So I think we're only really, actual play. If you look at two players for every position, the only place where we're really light is at left wing back. How many do I think's coming in? They obviously replacing anybody who goes out. So Sam goes out, they replace him. If Ahamada goes out, they won't look to replace him. So if he goes out on loan, they won't look to replace him because they've already got plenty of cover in that position. So it's like for like. If Mark ends up going, then another centre-back will come in. But incremental to that, I think we've got Nketiah coming in and Edouard might end up staying, but work on the principle he goes out. I think after Nketiah, and Lacroix's in as the centre-back, I think that's us done. I think that's it. As dull as it is, I think that's us done.
Okay, cool. So Lacroix is, obviously right-sided centre-back, played with Glasner at Frankfurt and... Was it Frankfurt? Wolfsburg. Played it with Wolfsburg, sorry, which is where he's coming from. So you may remember when Glasner came in, our friend Florian Malburg from Sky Sports in Germany came on to talk about Glasner. This time he sent us in a little clip for our boy incoming Lacroix. So let's see what Florian has to say.
Maxence Lacroix, or you probably say something like Maxence Lacroix. He's a really good choice because you get a player with a lot of talent, a lot of good games in the Bundesliga, but who lost a bit of value last year. So I think last year or the year before, he would have been much more expensive. There are different reasons for that. It's definitely not his abilities. He's a really physical player. He has a good presence and also a good technique. So for me, it's a match in heaven for the Premier League. But I think since he arrived from Sochaux, there were always rumors that he wanted to leave Wolfsburg quite soon. There were big clubs interested. And I think 1 or 2 times he was already sitting on packed suitcases. I don't know, do you say it? Well, in Germany you say gepackte Koffer, so the translation is packed suitcases, I think. You know what I mean. But the deals didn't work out. So afterwards he lost some credibility with the coaches, didn't start all the games, and another reason why he didn't start all the games were his bookings. Gosh, he better should collect Panini cards than straight reds. He got 4 in 4 years of Bundesliga. That's a lot. Plus, from time to time, he's quite risky with his passes and his openings. So, all in all, it's nothing you can't work on. And I'm sure the master of details, Oliver Glasner, will have an eye on it. And when he has, and Maxence Lacroix can work on these things, he will be a really, really good transfer for the Eagles.
Yeah, so thank you to Florian for that really nice little clip there, and very encouraging as well. It's nice to know that Glasner's worked with him in the past and obviously built him into this player who was worth a lot of money. Maybe hasn't covered himself in glory since in terms of trying to get himself away from there, but that's where we are. Hesketh, you excited? French player coming in?
Yeah, really excited. I've tried not to do that thing of watching all the YouTube videos for fear of jinxing the move completely. But the bits and pieces I've seen of him, he looks very good. He looks good on the ball, very confident. And the few clips I've seen, he steps very high up to get the ball and then goes forward with it, which I think is the sort of thing that, we're more likely to see under Glasner, the way that we have Anderson in the past and Guehi moving forward with the ball. So that's really good. Apparently he's really, really fast. He looks quite tall, which is something that I think we need at the back. So, all of that put together with getting him for less than we would expect to pay for him. Can't really complain too much about it. And like you say, he's French, so I'm all in.
Separately, I've got a song idea for Lacroix already. Do you want to hear it?
Oh, do we? Go on.
Do it.
Encore Far, as it stands out, clearly sounds like Maxence Lacroix. So you could see the whole Homestyle giving it. I reckon it works.
I hate to admit that I think it does work. That's really annoying. That's a good shout.
When we was in France, when we was at the Olympics the other week, all the announcements would be starting, Madame, Monsieur. And I was like, Le disc jockey sash. And Linda, my wife just kept being like, what are you saying? And turns out she did not know that song, which is mind-blowing. Out of 10, Hesketh?
Set.
Oh, I was hoping
you can
for
translate
more.
that, can't you? Wheat. What do you want?
Yeah, I just heard bang average is what you heard.
7 out of 10. You give it some gusto and do a bit of a dance, I might lift it up to an 8.
Okay, cool. So that's the choir done, and then Eddie Nketiah, the man we've been after for a few years, is finally going to come through the door. Is he, Carl? I assume he is. So we've got. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Go on. Talk about Eddie Nketiah.
Yeah, look, I think you summed it up. I think Dougie found his target list from 2022 and managed to bring in Ismail Assar and Eddie Nketiah.
It's just Kumar Babakar for the set. That's all it is.
Hat trick. Knew I'd get them. One assumes even if Edouard had an absolute stormer against West Ham, they were still going to go do this. They'd definitely been talking to him for ages. I'd actually given up on it. I put up on my Insta stories that, clearly we've tried for him and we've walked away from it because it looked like the Forest deal was going through. Forest definitely thought he was going through as well. I know somebody up at Forest and they were saying we've signed him. So yeah, look, he's there. He's obviously could be a long-term replacement for JP if the thing doesn't work out with JP in a year or 2 years' time. But yeah, they've got Ollie wanted him. He's got pace at the front and he's got pace at the back now. He likes to link up play, not in the big, target man way, but coming short, peeling the ball off, getting in the area. We talked about overloading the penalty area. That's definitely what he's all about, and he finishes. So, yeah, look, I think again, if you go through position by position at centre forward with Mateta and Nketiah, it feels like we've strengthened them where we were last year. So that's positive.
Yeah, another good rumour running around was that Glasner phoned him up and said, "Don't sign for Forest. We're coming in for you." Don't know how true that is.
I don't think it was Glasner phoning him up and saying that.
Someone on behalf of Glasner?
I think we might have done that. Yes, yeah. I think he was in the same way as I think Lacroix. I'm going to ruin the absolute destroy the pronunciation. I don't, I'd even the other centre back we were trying to. I phoned up somebody who's Brazilian to get pronunciation of his name because he's got Brazilian roots. The Benfica lad.
Yeah, I've already been slagged off by a mate for pronunciations of his name because I was saying Araujo.
Araujo, as I think
Araujo.
It sounds like it's got a W in there. But yeah, look, I think on we know how we do this stuff on transfers. We are generally talking to them for 6-9 months out. And we've definitely been staying in touch with Nketiah the whole way through all of this. My assumption is we pushed on it because we can't get the number 10 who we want. And when, that's where we put the money and they went and got Nketiah.
Well, that's what's a question from Jude Heyman is, does this signing of Nketiah essentially confirm that we will not be signing a 10 in this window? Do you think that this could result in or be down to Glasner potentially changing his styles to 2 up front? And is there a belief that Nketiah can also play as a 10?
No, I don't. I think part answer's correct. I think my assumption is they want Chukwuemeka. Definitely want Chukwuemeka. I don't think they can get Chukwuemeka, so they've gone and put that money in to make sure they definitely get Nketiah. But I don't. It's not about change of shape or anything along those lines. It's they can't get the player they really want in this window, and I think their hope that he probably doesn't go and they can have another dart at him in January. I say that going. It's all of the signs are there at the present moment in time. It just hasn't progressed any, which is either deep down he doesn't really want to come, or they just can't get anywhere near the deal with Chelsea, or probably more likely there is a bigger club out there at the moment who's got him on strings in the same way deep down we had Nketiah on strings. Forest did all of the chasing, got all of the deal agreed, got it all there, all along we're sat there going, don't worry lad, we'll be coming in for you.
Okay. And kind of part answered this, but is an interesting end to it. Exile Sellers on Twitter has asked, with Nketiah, Lacroix and Travers seemingly close to done, does this shift focus to the 2 remaining days of the window to the loan market, which we've failed to utilise in recent years? And do you think we can expect a late deal or 2?
Yeah, they know the players they want, so they don't feel desperate. I think it's different if, let's just work on the principle. Chadi Riyad had got a real big, long injury. They might go out there and take a centre-back on loan to just give him a little bit of cover. But generally, I think they're really comfortable about the whole of the squad. And, would they do a loan deal to get a player in? If it was the right player, yeah. But I don't think they've got that at the moment. They know who they want, and they can't get them to sign on a permanent contract. Getting them to sign on a loan contract can sometimes be harder because they want the permanent moves. So I suspect we won't be doing anything in the loan market.
Yeah,
I did wonder. The one that I wondered, Steve did want to do Zaha. I did wonder, and it just looks like it's an absolutely impossible one to go do, and he needs to get out of where he is. I did wonder if that was the one that we would end up on transfer deadline day, just coming back through, but done as a straight loan with not a load of money being paid on it, but his wages being covered. But it appears not.
Okay. Also, there's a lot of been talking around the tax implications of him coming back as well, that he'll have to pay a load back, because if you go and work abroad, you've got to be there for a X amount of time before you're not.
It's a choice, isn't it? He's gonna. That's one of those things. He's a big grown up. He knew all of that when he went there. That I think, does he want to come back? Yeah. Does Steve? Do the owners want him back? In an ideal world, I think they would do it. Does Dougie and does Ollie? That's a different matter altogether. But I wondered if that would be the one they could pursue if the deal could be done. But it appears like Wilf doesn't want to have to pay back the tax and wants his cake and his eat it. Well, he might have to change that if he does want to move.
Okay, right. Some quick fire questions for the end. From Ryan Delahunty, please can someone reassure everyone that we're not actually selling our best 2 centre-backs and replacing them with players that haven't played in England before? Also, less importantly, with the players we've lost this season, is it just me, or does the fan base feel less connected with the squad?
Well, on the latter one, I have a general opinion. I've never felt more connected to my football club than after we've just won 3 games on the spin. I don't think too many people felt connected to the players last December and January. And so I think, new players do take a time to build a relationship with the fans and vice versa and all of that. So I guess that feels a little bit natural. Palace don't want to sell Guehi. They don't have any intention of selling Guehi. Now, if Mark suddenly goes, I really want to go, and the offers on the table from Newcastle suddenly meets our expectations, I don't think it's impossible that he does go. And yeah, the centre-back coming in will almost certainly be from Benfica. So yeah, we could end up with 2 centre-backs and Ollie building a defence whilst changing the wheels of a car whilst it's going down the motorway.
Interesting. Daniel Brennan has asked, leaving transfers to the end of the window rather than doing business early, is that literally to try and get a better deal, or is it just waiting for players to become available?
Yeah, combination of both. Definitely in the past for us, it was about getting a better deal. Generally, there'd be players that lots of the players we want, we know deep down clubs want to sell them. And therefore, you're waiting for them to get to the position whereby they're dropping their asking price, or they've got other players in, and you can get them at the price you want to go pay. Typically, at the moment, if you take Chukwuemeka, for example, that is, we would have done that deal 3 months ago, 2 months ago, if we could have done it. They've not been able to get him because deep down he's not been fully available at anything like the price we can afford or we can attract. I suspect he's just got lots of other options on the table, and you're waiting for those other options to go dead and him go, yeah, right, then I'll come Palace. And sometimes it's easy as a fan to go, I wouldn't want them then if they don't want to come to us. Well, I don't know. Pretty much every single footballer holds out for a bigger club than the one he ends up at.
Well, it's partly someone was making an argument the other day about Nketiah turning us down a couple of years ago because he wanted a bigger move. My argument back was we're a bigger club than we were 2 years ago compared to like the calibre of player we've got now, the manager we've got in place, etc. You've kind of semi-answered this next question, which is this is the first window that we haven't signed an attacking young talent. So I don't think with that want of doing it, it's just getting it over the line. But is there an element as well of expecting Jez to be ready next season?
I don't know about Jez next season. I'd just be guessing. But yeah, obviously they're hoping he has a really good loan and all of that. I've not heard that they think it's all about Jez for next season. Quite clearly, the one they really are hoping comes through for next season's França. They're hoping he comes through for this season, but they're definitely hoping they come through for next season. So it's that's the one. The second half of the season, they're hoping starts to belong to him.
Okay. Will, yes, that will. I'm talking about Carl was asked, are we still searching for a striker? And is it time to admit that we gave up too soon on Sorloth?
Dougie never misses.
He never misses.
just don't have Roy Hodgson as a manager.
Yeah. JG has asked, are the club generally happy with the business they've done? And could we expect more in January, given the feeling that Michael still hasn't been replaced?
Yeah, again, I think they've struck the balance, they think, between the players that they think are right for the future and also what the manager wants, but also being ruthless. So it's really easy to bring players in by comparison to getting players out for the right fees and getting the wages off the bill and not just collecting them. You know, go and have a look at Everton and a few other clubs there who've got big squads and high wage bills. Leicester's another one. I think they went down with 8 goalkeepers. So it's, you know, they've been ruthless in getting Ayew out, Anderson out, and, you know, I think you've seen the Anderson comments in the press about, you know, he felt it was hard, but they've done that and they've brought in players that, you know, in Lacroix, you know, Glasner wanted 2 players, Kamada and Lacroix, so he's got both of his players, so the manager feels supported. But by the same token, they brought in some young talent that clearly Dougie's and the scouting squad have been looking at. You know, Chaddy Reard's an obvious one, and Ketia we know about, Sar's one that obviously Dougie's wanted for a fair period of time. So I think they feel overall the squad's a stronger squad. But yeah, it won't feel like that to the owners until they start winning a few games.
Yeah, I completely agree that the squad feels like a stronger squad all around, and 30 million profit-ish on that to boot, given the outgoings and the coming in. Obviously, we don't have Elise anymore, and there's nothing we can do about that. And you can't replace Elise because he's a world-class player. He's probably going to be seen as one of the very best players in the world within the next couple of years. So that is what it is. But yeah, I think for the money we've had come in versus the money we've had go out, and the way that the position the squad's in now, I think we're looking all right. And that's like that 30 million profit is once we pay for Nketiah and Lacroix, you know, it's like I think that's pretty good going.
Yeah,
I think sorry, I was going to say I think the thing is as well, you know, we've had this thing with Dougie of buy the sort of younger players in for cheap, build them up, and then sell them for money down the line. The bit up until now has been the fun bit of getting them in for cheap and seeing Guehi and Elise and Ebbs and whatever come through. But now we're at the point where we do have to sell some of them. And it's the first time we've been in that part of the cycle, isn't it? So it's quite tough to be like, oh, but I like them now. And now they're leaving. But like you say, Dougie don't miss. We can trust him. And I think he's got a lot of credit in the bank for what he's done so far. We just got to trust he's going to keep doing it.
Yeah, I'll sort of just build on that. I was going to say broadly the same thing, Hesketh, not as articulate as you, but also what, you know, I say this, and it, you know, by the time the pod goes out, we may well find that, you know, silly money has come in for Guehi, and he said he does want to go, and suddenly he's gone, and then there's 2 of them. I was going to say, and actually, of the young talent, only one's gone. Only Michael's gone. They've, you know, Ebbs has stayed. Walton's still here. You know, Decore's still here. Obviously, injury driven as much as anything else. But Mateta, you know, I know he's not a young one. We'd feel a whole load different if JP had gone. You know, it really, you know, it's felt painful because it's been, you know, some experienced players going out and players that we've had in the team, and quite clearly, Michael's a generational talent.
Indeed. From Callum, we've had, this is more of a statement really. Can you tell everyone on social media to stop panicking that Glasner is going to storm out because we haven't signed 20 players, and for them to stop comparing our transfer strategy in terms of spending to Brighton?
Yeah,
I mean, that how did it go for that new signing last night?
Yeah. Oh, heart bleeds for him. Hey, do you know what? I know a Brighton fan. I don't call him a friend, and he don't call me a friend, but we know each other and we quite like each other. But he's still a Brighton fan, isn't he? They've gone on their spending spree this summer, and he says, yeah, but you want to be where we were last summer, just seeing player after player go. And yeah, we got big money, but we just couldn't bring the players in that we wanted. So, you know, I think he looks at it going, you know, you put the 2 together and you know, they felt like there's too much went out last summer and probably too much coming this summer. Look, from what I understand, Glasner's happy. Look, I suppose if you ask this a serious questions, is he bright, intelligent? Does he think things through? Is he streetwise? He knew exactly what Crystal Palace he was joining. He told Palace how he was going to play. He told Palace the players he wanted all at interview stage, and he told us how we were going to play after we lost Michael. He knew Mark was going. before the start of the summer. So he knew he wanted a centre-back in with pace, and he knew that meant Anderson was going to go. We all know Jordan Ayew doesn't really fit the way he wanted to go play. So for all of this, of all the players that have gone out, he's absolutely happy. I think he said the right things, didn't he? And it was actually more aimed at the Nketiah stuff. You've done loads of talking now, Palace. Now you're to bring me those players in. Lacroix hadn't arrived 2 weeks ago. Nketiah hadn't arrived 2 weeks ago. But I think come the end of the window, he talked about celebrate once the end of the window's over. I think that's as much as anything else. So he's got his squad, and suddenly you haven't got JP wanting to move. Ebbs could be moving, all of this stuff. So, I think genuinely think he's happy, and he feels supported. Would he want one more player than he's got? Absolutely, you bet, because every manager does, and it probably will be pissed off that he hasn't got a left wing back. Or it looks like he's not getting a left wing back.
Yeah. Okay. And then finally, because obviously we talk about where we think we might finish in the league and are we pushing for Europe? But obviously there's other teams that are doing bits as well in terms of trying to push their agendas. And James Morris asked, the perception is that a lot of clubs in and around us have committed to spending more to improve their squads. Do you think this is actually true?
I don't think... Have other clubs spent more than us this summer? Probably, well, not probably, yeah, definitely. There's been loads who haven't spent as much as us, but that's not the starting point, is it? We're the biggest spenders in Europe in January. There's no, somebody wants to go and spend 50 million on a midfielder. It's who's not going to get in ahead of Walton or Lerma or Decore, So, or at the moment even Will Hughes. So it's your starting point, which is we had a really good squad. We saw it. We're one of the best teams genuinely one of the best teams in the league for a sustained period at the end of last season. Would I have loved to see us get one or two more? Clearly, if they want, definitely a left wing back. And I was quite excited by the thought of Goossens coming in. And I'd love to see another attacking option in the 10 for certain. But I mean, our starting point of our squad was pretty darn strong.
Indeed, yeah. No, I think Nketiah comes in, get a replacement for Johnston. Lacroix comes in. I think we've got to be broadly happy with that. So, yeah. Hesketh, you got anything you want to ask Carl about transfers before we start to wrap up?
No, everything's been covered. I think that the one position that I think we needed strengthening for sure was the left wing back. I think everyone agrees with that. So, like you, Kyle, I was quite excited when Goossens was linked, because I think he'd be a great sort of experienced guy to have up there to challenge Ty and Ty to learn from. But sounds like it's not to be. But fingers crossed we don't get absolutely humped by Chelsea. Because then I think the window closing and then the international break after that's not going to be the best time to be on Twitter, is it?
I don't think there's any good time to be on Twitter, but you're asking the wrong person.
That's true. That's very true.
Just on the left wing back thing, I think they know who they want. It's just they can't get them for the type of money that they think is, I'm not even sure value's the right word. It just suddenly puts a whole load of other problems in there. And it's awkward trying to bring somebody in who's you're paying the money as if they're going to be a first team player, not a squad player. And T's got that position locked down. So they can't find a young talent out there. And so they're trying to look for, hence they thought that they hoped Goossens was the one who would clearly come in, could clearly play some games and could clearly come off the bench. But it's stupidly big money, but he also wants to play.
Yeah, and it's not like, touch wood, Ty stays fit and is a resilient player, and he's definitely he's a very good left back, and he's adapted well to the role of playing left wing back. He gets up and down, arguably as much as Munoz does. He doesn't go more horizontal across the pitch, that's for sure. But he's up and down. He's always offering the overlap deep into games as well. He was doing it. He did it all day on Saturday, and he did it on Tuesday night against Norwich. So he's got the engine for it, and he's more than a good enough Premier League left wing back to play in that position. But yeah, of course, if he gets injured, we're up shit creek. So Yeah, but it is where it is, and I don't necessarily think in spending a load of money on it is necessarily the right thing. I'd rather maybe controversially spend the money on Nketiah, because I feel like that's someone who can be moulded into a player that will do things at the other end of the pitch for us. So there it is. I think we're going to miss the League Cup draw. I think it's just about to happen, but
we know it's Brentford anyway.
I mean, I'm begging for Barrow away. It would just be beautiful.
You're not getting there and back. You're not getting back there in an electric car. I tell you that.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But the memories that I was thinking about Plymouth last night, because even Mateta's going to be thinking, I'm a goal down on this stage last season. I had a hat-trick down at Plymouth. It's just, I was joking about on Twitter saying he's stat padding against lower league opposition in the second round of the League Cup again. But yeah, I'll never forget that night at Plymouth. What night? What? Just that 6-7 minutes, whatever it was crazy. But yeah, so anyway, Carl, really appreciate you coming on and answering the questions and giving some insight for our listeners. As always, you're a star.
No, I love coming on, boys.
And Hesketh, you are rocking around there, dying for a piss. Whatever you do, don't end the podcast this week like you did last week and rearrange yourself.
Listen, no comment, mate.
Carl, we want Carl to come back on the pod in the future. Yeah. We don't need to be scared
off.
For the
subscribers only. It's the only fans.
Only fans.
Yeah, that's going to be on the future Patreon. We've got a screen grab of it waiting to go. But no, brilliant. Thanks everyone for listening. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And until next time, up the Palace.